It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as a WCW legend is set to appear on tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, a WWE Hall of Famer returned on last night's Smackdown, and WWE have released 13 more wrestlers. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, we have an update regarding the plans for Kenny Omega's Impact World Championship run. The title reign started in April after Omega pinned Rich Swann at Impact Rebellion, adding a third belt to his collection. Whilst there is still no word on when Omega will drop the title, it was recently noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that the quote battle plans were mapped out before Omega won the title, and the battle plans were a collaboration between AEW and Impact. Decisions on which AEW and Impact wrestlers would be appearing on what shows and when Impact can get their title back were all made ahead of time, and these plans had to be in place in order to get a deal struck. So far, Kenny has defended the title once, that being against Moose this month at Against All Odds, and he is set to battle Sami Callihan next month at Slammiversary. Omega is also booked for this week's episode of Impact Wrestling, as he teams with the Good Brothers to take on #1 contender Callihan, Moose, and Chris Sabin. Don Callis will join the heels at ringside, with Tommy Dreamer evening the odds for the faces. And quickly before we continue, if you're enjoying the video so far, why not give it a like, as it helps me continue to grow the channel. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content. And now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. AEW have announced the appearance of a WCW legend who will confront the Pinnacle's manager Tully Blanchard on behalf of Santana and Ortiz of the Inner Circle. Conan, who has managed the duo in the past as part of the LAX faction in Impact, will be making his AEW return, having made 2 appearances in the company to date. The first of which came during the Inner Circle's Vegas celebrations, rolling up in a hot-boxed limo, and his second and most recent appearance came at Double or Nothing this year, assisting Santana and Ortiz in their disco brawl with FTR. The segment is being described as an in-ring face-to-face interview with Tully Blanchard. Last night's Smackdown saw the return of a WWE Hall of Famer who took out the Universal Champion Roman Reigns upon his return. Edge interrupted Roman Reigns' State of Universal title address, where Roman's advocate claimed that he had ran through the entire roster in less than a year, naming Edge, Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, the Mysterios, and interestingly, Braun Strowman as his victims. Braun was of course released from his WWE contract earlier this month as part of the mass cuts. Maybe this is a hint that he will be re-signing, but who knows. And he also mentioned Daniel Bryan, who is of course currently a free agent after his WWE contract expired. Either way, Edge hasn't been seen in WWE since the main event of WrestleMania 37, which saw the Tribal Chief pin not only Daniel Bryan, but Edge at the same time. His return confirms recent reports that Edge would be back in time to work a match at SummerSlam, and although he took out Roman Reigns, his reported opponent for the event is Seth Rollins. Reigns is penciled in to wrestle a returning John Cena, who will likely make an appearance when fans are back in attendance for SmackDown on July 16th. Perhaps we'll see the follow-up to this segment with Reigns being taken out by Edge on SmackDown TV, with Rollins maybe costing the Rated R superstar the match, leading to their bout later in the summer. And for our final story of the day, let's take a look at the complete list of 13 wrestlers who were released from WWE last night. Kurt Stallion is the first name on the list, and as you'll see as a running theme throughout the video, was part of the 205 Live roster. He debuted for WWE in October 2020, winning a gauntlet match, defeating Arya Daivari by disqualification before winning the rematch clean. He's since been a regular on the Purple brand as a singles wrestler, whilst also teaming occasionally with August Grey and Mansoor. And speaking of August Gray, he has also been let go. Gray has only been with the promotion for a short time, having signed in WWE in, ironically, August 2020. Once again, a regular fixture of the recent 205 Live shows, his release was capped off by a joke from the man himself on Twitter, who joked that his pre-taped match on last night's episode of 205 Live is now a loser leaves town match, foreshadowing his loss to Grayson Waller. This self-deprecating humor has earned August many fans on his way out of the door. Next up is Chase Parker and Matt Martell, who signed with WWE in 2019, having previously made sporadic appearances in matches and tryouts for the promotion between 2016 and 2018. Having initially worked under their real names Jeff Parker and Matt Lee and used their indie tag name of Team 3.0, they were rebranded as Everrise in September of last year, both receiving individual rebrands as Chase Parker and Matt Martell. They've made several appearances on 205 Live and NXT, taking part in the 2021 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, being eliminated in the first round by eventual finalists Grizzled Young Veterans. Next, we have the Singh brothers, who made their WWE debuts as part of the Cruiserweight Classic in 2016. They are mostly known for their run alongside then WWE Champion Jinder Mahal, having managed Mahal from 2017 up until 2019. They then returned to 205 Live as their pre-WWE gimmick the Bollywood Boyz, even managing to win the 24/7 title a combined 9 times, with Sunil having 4 reigns and Samir having 5. Arya Davari is next, and like many on this list, made a name for himself in the Cruiserweight division on 205 Live. He debuted as part of the WWE Cruiserweight Classic in 2016, being eliminated in the first round. His 5-year run with the company now comes to an end, having never won the Cruiserweight title. Next up is 205 Live veteran Tony Nese, who has been a member of the Cruiserweight division since 2016. In 2019, he won the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, going on a 77-day-long reign, winning the title on the WrestleMania 35 kickoff show. These Cruiserweight releases seem to confirm recent reports that WWE and NXT are looking to shake up the division, adding more high-profile names to the Cruiserweight roster. Now let's move on to the non-205 Live releases, starting with Tino Sabatelli. This marks his second release from WWE in just over a year, having also been let go in April of 2020. He then had a brief run in AEW where Chris Jericho suggested that he was leaking results from pre-taped shows, although the Reddit leaks did continue after his departure from All Elite. Tino then re-signed with NXT in October of 2020, but has once again been let go. Arturo Ruas is next and has been with the promotion since 2015. After a short run in NXT, Arturo began to appear on Raw Underground segments before being drafted to Raw officially in October during an episode of Raw Talk. He was then quietly moved back to NXT, having never wrestled a match on Raw post-draft, and he was then sidelined with a bicep injury and hasn't wrestled since November. Marina Shafir is the third member of the 4 horsewomen of MMA to leave WWE this year, with Ronda Rousey's contract expiring and Jezebin Duke having been released in May. The only member of the group remaining is Shayna Baszler, who has found a home on the Raw brand. Marina never really found a rhythm on NXT, and this release seemingly ends any hopes of the teased WWE 4 horsewomen versus UFC 4 horsewomen match. Killian Dane, known to many fans as Big Damo on the independent scene, signed with WWE in 2016, shortly after debuting as part of the Sanity faction alongside his real-life wife Nikki Cross and Alexander Wolf, led by Eric Young. The faction's move to the main roster fell flat, and since then Dane established himself as a tag team with real-life friend Drake Maverick, with the two having tremendous chemistry working together. Fandango is next on the list and has been with the company for 14 years. He originally worked under the name Johnny Curtis during his developmental period before his call-up to the main roster as ballroom dancer Fandango. His theme song famously went viral in 2013, with the fans starting the Fandangoing phenomenon. His most recent run has been with his tag team partner Tyler Breeze, collectively known as Breezango, winning the NXT tag team titles last August. This was in fact Dango's first and only title reign during his long run in WWE. And the final name on the list of releases is Tyler Breeze, who has been with WWE since 2010, starting in their FCW and NXT developmental system before being called up to the main roster in 2015. He is also a regular on WWE's gaming channel Up Up Down Down, playing a key part in not only the channel overall, but on the Battle of the Brands series where he duels with Xavier Woods on SmackDown vs. Raw 2006's General Manager mode, and he will now be a big miss for many fans. The series will now likely come to an end, which is a great shame. He will continue his role at his Florida-based training center, Flatbacks Wrestling School, which he runs with his friend Sean Spears, of course, of AEW. And before you go, why not check out my video where I look at what might be next for the WWE releases from earlier this month.